Hello everyone, I'm back with another 1cc, of course. And this time we got Ikaruga. I was very happy to get this 1cc today. Now, if you guys have seen the previous video on my channel, you'll know, as I explained in there, that was the Diojo clear. As I explained in that video, just kind of got into shmups recently, and the first clear that I got was Diojo. After that, I really wanted to kind of have a look over all the many different shmups and different companies other than Cave, and kind of see what else I was going to do after Diojo. It's recently been the Steam sale, the winter sale, Christmas sale, whatever, and as everyone knows, that's very dangerous. You find yourself buying, every single shmup that's on Steam, basically. So I tried a bunch of different shmups out, and Ikaruga definitely stood out to me. I decided to go for this one next. So firstly, I suppose I'll talk a bit about what made the game stand out. The first thing is, this game, and actually, even people who don't know anything about shmups or aren't really big into them, people do know about this game. A lot of gamers do, because I believe this might have been maybe even like the most commercially successful shmup ever, in terms of it was originally an arcade game, but in terms of the console sales of the ports and whatnot, this was successful, definitely a more well-known game, if not the most well-known shmup. So I was talking to a few of my friends who knew about this game, even though they'd never gone for a 1cc on it or anything. And I believe perhaps, I was thinking about why that is. I think there's probably multiple reasons, but one reason why I think maybe this shmup was more popular and commercially successful is just how kind of cinematic the game is. And by cinematic, I mean, in kind of the totally opposite sense to how most modern games are cinematic, right? In most modern games that have become increasingly like cinema, they're cinematic in the sense of just play a cutscene for half the game, right? Just completely take the player out of the gameplay, out of the moment, and play cutscenes, literal just cinema. And that's how we're going to make the game cinematic, right? This game is very cinematic, but in the totally opposite way and without taking you out of the game at all. One big aspect to that is just the music. The music in this game is so good. I might go as far as to say it's maybe the best soundtrack, or it's definitely up there out of all shmups I've played. And that's kind of a high bar, because shmups are known for having really good soundtracks. But when I was researching a bit about this game, and as you just play through this game, as you just kind of credit feed, let's say you just come on this game and do an initial credit feed through the game, which is what I like to do and what I did when I started with this game, you notice just the game is so kind of cinematic. It makes you feel like you're doing amazing, even as you're getting wrecked in the game, kind of. The music syncs up with everything that's happening. So there will be a few little cutscenes, just small cutscenes interspersed throughout the game, just to give you a brief break. And it usually syncs up with the music. When different bullet patterns come out, when the boss comes in, it all kind of syncs up with the music and with the pace of that section of the game, the current bullet patterns at that point of the stage. The music, the tempo of the music lines up with that. It's really, really well done. And obviously that's kind of an advantage I was thinking that these shmups have. Since the game is on this auto-scroll timer. Oh, and here we come to stage 2. I mean, this really awesome soundtrack in stage 2. I mean, the whole game, really awesome soundtrack, but I definitely like stage 2 and the stage 2 boss. But yeah, I mean, since it is an auto-scroll game, so this is one of the few types of games where we actually know, from a developer designer standpoint, when the player precisely is going to be at different moments. So that allows you to kind of sync up the music with everything that happens. When I was researching the game and I looked on the Wikipedia, I immediately noticed how I believe the director and the composer, Hiroshi Ayuchi, I believe his name was, totally was the same guy, for the director and the composer, which is quite interesting. Usually wouldn't expect that. And I believe that had an effect probably on how the soundtrack and everything I described with how it syncs up with the game. Another thing is the chaining system is very interesting and intuitive in this game. Unlike Diojo, where it's more about just killing enemies back to back in quick succession, the chaining system in this game doesn't care at all about how quick succession you kill the enemies. It's just about you need to kill 3 enemies of the same polarity in a row. So if you kill like 2 enemies of one polarity and then 1 of another, that will break the chain. It has to be 3 in a row of one type. And of course, the polarity system is the other big like unique thing about this game, and it kind of fucks with your head. The polarity system in this game, it's really something you have to get used to, because it can really throw you off a lot of the time. Just thinking that you're not remembering or not having the intuitive grasp of like what polarity you are, and being able to switch polarity in anticipation of what's going to come up definitely kind of fucks with your head at first. So it's kind of almost a bit of a mentally straining game because of that. In any case, yeah, so this game and the cinematic nature of the game that I was talking about, that comes out with the music. Like I discussed, that's a big element. The few little cutscenes that are interspersed, how because it's this auto scroll of a game like shmups are, they've taken full advantage of that to make it feel like you're kind of going on an epic journey as you go through the game, and as you go through the bosses and you come to the final boss, which is really cool and everything. And it makes the game feel so cinematic. But as I said earlier, without really taking you out the game, just within the game itself, the polar opposite of how modern games make the game cinematic, if you see what I mean. I believe that might be at least one of the reasons why this game was as commercially successful and popular as it was, more so than perhaps any other shmup. I believe probably the same can be said for Radiant Silvergun, which was the predecessor to this game that I also checked out. And I quite like that game as well, but I haven't played with it too much, so maybe that'll be my next on my agenda after this game. Now, I'll talk a bit about the run here. So far I've had no deaths, and I will, as you'll see, I go far in this run with no deaths. But then we have kind of a dramatic ending to this run, which was kind of like my Diojo run. It kind of came down to the wire at the end in a kind of a dramatic way, and seems to be a trend with me so far with shmups, because similar thing is going to happen here. Now, this boss is really cool, but I found myself getting tripped up on it and just getting caught and dying sometimes, but it goes smoothly here. Just about, if I remember correctly, I almost die on this boss as I come in to kill the second leg, or whatever you want to call it there, the hatch, the door, whatever it is. I come in here, I do some damage, I come out, open it back up again, go back in, and I think I just have to wiggle up, and yeah, I just kill it there. So as I was practicing this game, I'd say in terms of the difficulty of the game, I do only light chaining, light scoring throughout the game to make sure I get 2 extends. I only get about 10 million. So the way this game works, you will get the first extend at 3 million score. And then you will get extends every 5 million after that. So if you get to 8 million, that's 2. And then if you get to 13 million, that's 3. From when I was researching this game, I believe most people who got their first 1cc, they were going for the 3rd extend usually. So they would get the 13 million. I did not go for that. I only went for the 8 million to get 2 extends. That was sufficient for me. So that's definitely doable, but if you can work in more chaining and just learn more chaining to get up to the 3rd extend, that will probably make it easier. Now, one thing I have to say though, so I'm playing this version right here. I'm playing this run right here on the PlayStation port on PS5. However, the vast majority of my playtime of this game was actually on the emulator, Dolphin emulator, the GameCube port. Because I picked up this port of the game, and I came to the sad realization that it was not like an M2 level port, like we see with Diojo and whatnot. There's, at least in the port that's on Steam and on PS5, PS4, it does not have very much at all in the way of practice features. The only thing it has is a stage select, but it does not allow you actually to practice the final boss at the end, because the stage select, if you go to the final stage 5, well, that stage technically ends before the actual true final boss, which you have to face. So even with that, you actually can't practice the true final boss. And so it's very bare bones in terms of the practice features, other than just the stage select and the fact that it has the replay recording, which is obviously useful. So I was like, well, that kind of sucks. That immediately put me off, because especially after playing Diogeia with the M2 port and all those features and all the save states and everything, which made it so comfortable and nice and convenient to practice and run the game, I was like, maybe I should just play another one of those. But then I was like, maybe I can play the GameCube version on the Dolphin emulator so I can get the save states. So I tried that out. I went on Dolphin, and I know that Dolphin is overall a very good emulator that generally runs well, although it's not perfect. And I was interestingly found out that the GameCube port of this game had significantly more practice features. Not only does it have the stage select, it has other things as well. It allows you to play the game at half speed, although I never actually tried that. Might have been useful though. It also allows you to skip to individual sections of a stage. It splits up the stages into multiple different sections. So instead of just a stage select, you can be more granular in the part of the game that you're practicing. Although the thing that I used most of the time was just save states. And of course you have access to that on Dolphin. And this is one thing I do have to point out. If you want to get good at shmups, or any game really, and I learned this from when I was into speedrunning, years ago, save states are by far the most valuable tool. So the vast majority of my playtime is on the Dolphin emulator for GameCube. Only when I felt confident to go for my actual runs, then I came onto the PS5 port. Now this, just to comment on this third boss here, this was a tricky boss to get used to, because again, when I was learning this boss, I was still getting used to the polarity and everything. It can like fuck with your head, just getting used to the polarity system. However, I say this boss might actually be the easiest, most consistent one in the game once you get it down. It is a fun boss to do. Yeah, all the bosses quite satisfying and fun to do in this game, I would say. But yeah, this one might actually be the easy. I might even go as far as to say it's easier once you get it down than the stage 1 boss. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit too far, but I'd say it's definitely easier than the stage 2 boss. Yeah, if you have to kill all these things individually. I take out one color, and then these things around the perimeter. As you saw there, I took them all down to low health and then destroyed them all. Because if you just start destroying them immediately, it makes the thing speed up for every one of those turret things around the edge that you kill. It will speed up and start spinning faster. So you want to kind of bring them all down to low HP first whilst it's still slow. And then take out one color and then finish it off. That's what I do there. Now come to stage 4. This is where it really, really ramps up. So I'd say 1, 2, and 3. They're not so bad. They're not so bad. But you come to stage 4 here, and you have the flower, I think it's called. I've heard it called. This fucking thing coming up here. Now this, and again, it's like, this is why I'm talking about the save states and everything. Good luck figuring this out without save states. I really practiced this for hours until I got this down well and figured out a good route for it, since it is, a static pattern. So you can like figure out a consistent way to do it. But it's really tricky. Like the polarity, the suicide shots from the enemy. That's the other thing about this game. So if you shoot an enemy that is the same polarity as you, it will then drop bullets as it dies at you of that same color. Now you might think that that's fine because you yourself are already that color. So you won't die. However, with this, you have to switch color so quickly. So what will happen? Like, it's designed to catch you off. So what will happen is you'll kill an enemy of the same polarity as you. Then it will drop bullets of that color, and then you'll switch right after, because you need to switch all the time. And then those bullets will catch you off and kill you. So you need to like really learn of when you can switch and when you can't. You need to make sure that you delay switching so that you don't get caught by those bullets. And yeah, I mean, it's tricky. This is really, really tricky. But with the save state practice, I was able to get it down nicely. Again, though, when I was practicing on the GameCube port, on the emulator, well, the emulator's not perfect, right? Like it least my experience on it. You know, it felt like it had more input lag. It felt like and Dolphin has some recent updates to improve the input lag, and I had those on, but it still like was worse than just the PlayStation, PS5, and some like uneven frame pacing and whatnot as well. So like it's still easily like good enough to play on and practice, but still it's better to actually play your real runs on a real version, like on the actual port. But yeah, just nice to get through that there without any deaths. I was quite nervous at this point because when I getting through that part and now still no deaths. I mean, this is a very, very good run. Usually I would expect to at least have one death by this point, but this is going very nice. Now, and I do wonder to myself, like the original players back in the day, like when this came out in arcades and whatnot, you know, and then being able to 1cc back then without having save state practice. I mean, hats off to those guys, right? Like, I would not want to go through that. That's one thing. Like, I do want to talk about a bit more about the save states. You know, for me, that's the first thing I'm looking out for to get good at a game is like, how can I practice this with save states? Because even to the extent that games have practice modes and whatnot, nothing can really beat the ability of just being able to, wherever you want at any exact frame of the game, to be able to make saves at that exact spot and reload them instantly with no downtime whatsoever. And also to make like a collection of saves if you were like across the game as well, so you can just instantly jump to any point of the game that you want, any individual little pattern, any individual subsection of the game, you can just instantly practice it with you know, no downtime, super efficiently. Not only does it make it more efficient, it just makes it more fun, less frustrating, and minimal friction to practice and improve. So that is one thing that kind of is not ideal about some newer, you know, PC shmups that may have practice features and whatnot, but they don't have like true save states like what a game has on an emulator. And I definitely believe that is possible to do, but you would simply have to design the game from the beginning to make sure that everything, all of the state can be serialized and saved and reloaded. It's definitely possible to do on like a modern PC game, a shmup like this, but you would have to design it for that. But I would like to see developers do that. You know, if they could design the game with everything being, all the state being serializable, so we could even have like full save states for practice, just like we have on your emulated games. I don't know if there's any shmup that's done that, but it certainly is technically possible. Yeah, so stage 4 boss right there, that is tricky, especially when you follow it around as it's turning. You have to do a lot of little micro dodges and little taps, as you saw me do there. I was playing this on the standard normal PS5 controller. I was playing this on PS5. I gotta say, this game, more so than the other games like Diojo, made me want to like try a leverless controller, or you know, where I can have like just buttons, just like mechanical keys. Definitely feel like that'd be easier for like a lot of these micro dodges. I feel like this game had a lot of like little micro dodges, micro adjustments, especially in that last boss and other areas, more so than Diojo. And I definitely felt like having like a leverless controller with mechanical keys for movement could be a significant advantage. I mean, I'm still clearly able to play well with the D-pad and controller and everything, as you can see, but in any case, we now come to the final stage of no deaths. So, I mean, really good run. And here is the first death right here. Just get caught there in a dumb way, because I guess when I fired off my missiles, it didn't go how I expected. I just overlooked something there and I just got caught off there. So I was kind of annoyed by that. I'm like, God damn it, because you really want as many lives as possible coming into the final boss here. The final boss, I mean, it basically has, what is it, like 4 phases to it. And you really want as many lives as possible, because you're almost certainly going to die at minimum once if it goes really well. And we'll see here, I need every life I can get. So we come to the final boss. I practice this quite a lot with the save states, all of it. And we're going to see it come down to the wire here, as it seems to do with me. But so what I do here, I hit missiles on the 3rd head, Then as the beams come out, as the grid comes out, I go to the second head, do a bit of damage to that. Then I come to the first head, missile it. Then I move back, then I move to the right. I have a whole, as you can see here, like I have a perfect route planned out for this. So I know what I'm doing. But just the nervousness here, I just stupidly switch polarity there when I shouldn't have, and I get caught off. Just the nervousness and like the polarity fucking with your head. But I'm able to recover, so I come back into position here. I can't see his health bar because I'm so focused on the bullets and dodging the bullets. I just literally cannot look at the health. So I'm like, for fuck's sake, die. And then luckily he dies there. Now we come to the snake heads. I have a very good strat for these snake heads that I stole from Wes 112. I love that guy and his runs. So I follow his strat here. So I highly recommend for anyone struggling with this to follow what I do right here. This usually works for me well if you follow this exact route that I'm doing. And I come super close, but as you're about to see right here, with a sliver, with like 1 HP left, he kills me. Really unlucky there. So now we come to this phase with 1 life left now, which I'm really kind of annoyed about that. And again, I'm thinking the run's probably over here because this phase isn't too bad, but it can absolutely kill you because these bullets, they can just catch you off. And, you know, when we come to the final phase, the diamond phase that's after this, you are almost certainly going to die at least once there. And we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, you're playing like, I don't know, you're playing ping pong with this guy. Luckily, I don't die there. So I've got 1 life. And I am thinking at this point that the run's over. Because you'd normally, coming into this guy, you want at least 2 lives. It's so easy to die to this guy. Especially, so this guy has 3 patterns. But luckily, as you're about to see, I really practiced recently the final pattern, which saved me here. So he comes out with the first pattern here. Now this isn't too bad. But so this is easy to dodge, but then a bunch of projectiles, aimed shots come at you, as you can see. You have to focus on those, phase through the ones that are the same color, so you don't get caught off. It's tricky, but very doable. Then this one comes out, and this is where it's just very, very hard because I can dodge it, but it's so fast. I need to focus on the pattern, and those projectiles, I get killed by a projectile there. It's really, really, really hard to do this and not get killed by projectiles at the same time. So I'm expecting to always lose a life here. The problem is now I have I would hope to have 1 life for the final pattern here. But as you can see here, I had been practicing this just before. And as you can see, it's really tricky to do. You have to go back and forth. You know, you clear out one color as you go back and forth and switch to the other color, just by the absolute hair right there. And I phased around, do the 360 round him, and by the absolute, by an absolute slither right there, I somehow clutched that out. A very, very clutch ending, just like in my Diojo run. So that's been the pattern with me so far, like just clutch endings. That final pattern that he does right there. I mean, let's just watch it close out here. And hear the music there. I was very relieved by that. Couldn't believe that. That final pattern at the very end right there, it's more doable than it looks. When I was referencing other people's runs, most people, the vast majority of runs that I saw, and when I'm looking at when I'm referencing other people's runs, I'm generally going to look for people who are going for the first 1cc like I am, as opposed to some really top high level player who's doing crazy stuff that I'm not even, and crazy high score stuff that I'm not trying to do. And most other people's runs that I watch, there's the legend director Hiroshi Ayuchi there, and all the rest of the people who worked on this. But yeah, as I watched most other people's runs who got their first 1cc on this, basically everyone that I saw expected to die and lose at least 1 life on that final pattern there. So they always had at least 1 life remaining to die, to take 1 death on the final pattern there. However, when I watched Wes 112 and his run, I saw him avoid that pattern perfectly and take no deaths. So I was like, okay, so it is possible to do that, but it looked really tricky. Because I had access to the emulator save states, I did quite a lot of practice of that until I was able to get it down pretty well. And almost messed it up there because I was nervous in the heat of the moment with the run and everything, but I kept my cool and just pulled it off. That wasn't a perfect, reference execution of that. But, because I saw from his run that it was doable, I had the access to the save states to practice it. Thank God I had practiced that, because for a while I was thinking that I was just kind of going to do what everyone else that I'd seen did and just hope that I'm going to get there with at least one life left to just tank a hit there. So thank God that I'd actually practiced that and got that down. So I would recommend practicing that if you're going for the 1cc, because it is possible to do that with no deaths, or even if you do practice it, it will at least allow you to get through it with one death and not two. So yeah, really awesome run there. And as I was doing a bit of research, and I found another interesting tidbit, which is that as I've mentioned him a few times, Hiroshi Ayuchi, who was the director of this and the predecessor of this, Radiant Silvergun, I saw he has a blog website. I saw that he works at M2 now. And apparently for the last 11 or 12 years, he's been at M2. And he's been working on kind of a passion project third game to kind of complete the trilogy that's kind of another spiritual successor. Seems to be in some form of development hell or something for like the last 12 years. Seems to, I don't know if it's ever going to come out. I don't think he's necessarily always working on it full time. Might be more of a part-time thing, whilst he also does other stuff at M2. But I'm very interested in that and to see if that ever actually comes out or not. If it does, obviously I'd be very interested. But yeah, Ikaruga, great game. I'd highly recommend this game. I had a lot of fun with it, but it's definitely, I would say it was harder than Diojo, especially just because of the polarity and everything and how it fucks with your head, all that I described. And who knows what's going to be next. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Signing out.